Hola, it's Angela here, and I'm back again today with Matt for some breaking news that's just been announced by Pedro Sánchez yesterday evening about the implications of a 100% purchase tax for non-residents and non-EU citizens. Matt, I'm sure this is quite daunting for a lot of people. Could you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. It's a bit of a shock, I think. No one was really expecting it.
Exactly.
The exact details of how this is going to work haven't really been announced yet. It is just an announcement at this stage. But the crux of it is that the government are suggesting they're going to increase the purchase tax for buyers who are non-EU non-residents.
Right.
So it's very specifically people who are not getting residency here, not getting a visa to live here permanently, not digital nomad visas, in effect for people who are buying holiday homes.
Yeah.
Quite how that's going to look, we're not 100% sure. Some parties, I've been speaking to lawyers this morning who seem to think that it's on a particular part of the tax.
Right.
Speaking to some contacts in some of the ayuntamientos are saying that it's going to be a doubling in effect of the purchase tax.
Right.
So instead of it being, for example, in Andalucia, an initial rate of 7% would become 14%.
Right, okay.
But the full details actually are yet to be known. It's potentially just a bit of saber rattling to get attention, because it's certainly got everyone talking about it.
It definitely does.
The context being to prevent house price rises, which, in reality, it's just not going to do that.
No.
But in certain areas, I think parts of the Costa del Sol, Barcelona, some of the Balearic Islands, there's been some massive price increases over the last few years.
Right.
In essence, this is in part because there's been actually very, very little house building since 2008.
Yep.
So there's a big shortage of property.
Yes.
And when there's a big demand and a big shortage, that causes pricing. It's the economics of supply and demand. But I think politically it's a really great tool to shout out and shout that we're going to do something, or the government are going to do something. But in essence, the chances of it going through Parliament, there's already talk that it might be breaching EU rules, so they won't be able to do it.
Yep.
We'll see.
Okay.
I think with an announcement like this, that definitely means something is going to happen. What it will look like, and we saw this with the golden visa being kicked back and forth, what it will look like in the end, we're going to have to wait and see. I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen this year. So if people are looking to buy a property in Spain now with a view to moving in the future, now's the year to do it.
Now's the time, Brilliant. Thank you very much. So there was also some discussion about an increase in tax on tourist rentals and short-term rentals. So I think this is part of wider measures by the government. But how would that affect someone that's buying here with a view to not actually moving yet, but wants to have a tourist rental?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There were 12 measures announced in total over various things. The ones specifically that will affect buyers and sellers. The suggestion is if people are renting properties out, be it for holiday rentals, be it for long-term rentals, they should be treated like a business.
Yeah.
This is more focused on the holiday rental market.
Right.
But the hotel lobby is very big in Spain, and so there's been a lot of pressure, I think, coming from that, where if you basically rent out a hotel room, you have to charge 10% IVA, you have to pay social security on your staff that are looking after it. There's a lot of other costs involved in renting a hotel, which if you have, for example, an apartment or a house that you're renting out, you don't pay.
Yeah.
So there's been a big push from the hotel lobby to stop this inequality.
Right.
And part of the announcement is that this will be brought into line. So if you're renting a holiday apartment, it will be treated exactly as if you were running a business, and you should be paying the same taxes as a business to bring that into line. So it basically means the cost of renting out a holiday apartment is going to rise quite dramatically. I'm pretty confident that will go through. It makes sense, really.
So for those people that do have that kind of apartment here, and I'm actually thinking of people that I know that are here on non-lucrative visas and currently have rooms or apartments available, they be then having to pay some kind of tax because now it's classed as a passive income.
It's a passive. This is a bit of a
grey area.
well, it kind of is and it isn't. It's often a grey area if you ask people on social media, for example.
Yep.
But the bottom line is, for it to be a passive income, you cannot be involved in running it in accordance with the rules of the non-lucrative visa.
Yep.
So what that means is you need to have a company who are managing every single part of it for you.
Yes.
That can still be done. It's just that the costs involved in doing that are going to increase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's going to happen? Either the owners of those properties are going to absorb the cost, or they're going to put the cost of rental accommodation up.
Yeah. So I think, as you mentioned, those 12 points that they've addressed as part of additional measures, but I think this is more of a broad outlook on the actual housing market as a whole, that these measures are being brought into place. We've had the thing last year about the tourist licences and the reform being in place because of the shortage of houses. Now, from my view and from many people, there are not a shortage of houses out there. There is accommodation out there. But what do you think this justification from the government is in place? Why are they doing this? What is their ethos for these measures?
Well, I mean, this is purely opinion. You know, I haven't been involved in the meetings,
yes.
so and because I probably wouldn't advise them to do the things they've done.
Mm-hmm.
The crux of it is housing affordability is a big issue across the whole of Europe and probably across most of the Western world, to be honest. We see it across Northern Europe, the UK, US, Australia. You know, lots of areas are having this issue with housing affordability. One of the big issues Spain has had is it just hasn't built any, realistically, hasn't built any housing for a long time. In particular, social housing. That's been left to be picked up by private landlords. And when you leave that to market economics, of course, there are going to be people that step in and make the most of that. Now, in many areas of Spain, housing is actually still really cheap.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, it's still nowhere near the prices that it was before the crisis in 2008. Yeah. So in real terms, real economic terms, house prices are very cheap in a lot of areas still. That might not seem it for many people who live in those areas. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to say, oh, it's all the foreign buyers coming in and pushing prices up. Well, the reality is we quite often see in the areas we work in the south of Granada, the Costa Tropical, through the Alpahara, etc., where actually many local sellers are wanting to push the prices up rather than actually being buyers who are offering to pay more.
Yes.
Hence, we see properties left on the market for year after year after year at exuberant prices, and they just don't sell.
Yeah.
In addition to which, there is a problem with properties that are derelict. They're almost uninhabitable, a lot of them. And there's no real incentive to rehabilitate these properties, reform them and bring them back into the marketplace.
Yes. Yeah.
So one of the big issues is actually the amount of properties that are there but unusable at the moment.
Yeah.
We have seen some things that potentially will bring those back into the market, and then that would also help ease the lack of supply with building new properties. But in a lot of places, we haven't really seen any new build of property for local people or that is in line with where those might be. There's been some financial stimulus as well. There's 100% mortgages are available under certain circumstances for local people to help buy them. We've dealt with a few just recently. So there is some stimulus that actually seems to make good sense.
Yes.
But there's also a bit of political banner waving of, it's all the non-EU, non-resident buyers that are driving the prices up. Maybe in some situations, like we said, the Costa del Sol, Costa Blanca, places like that.
Yep.
But in south of Granada, Costa Tropical, we're not really seeing that. You can still buy a reasonable quality two-bedroom house in some of these areas for 40,000, 50,000 euros.
Yeah.
So affordability is still definitely there, but we shall see what happens.
Brilliant.
It's certainly something to be aware of if you're a foreign
Definitely.
buyer looking to move here.
Yep.
And many people are retiring, looking to retire to Spain. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be an interesting year,
and of course,
for sure.
I'm sure we'll have many chats about this over this year.
We will. Thanks very much, Matt, for your advice on there. So I think if you're in the process now of either selling here in the local area or wanting to buy in Spain, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to have a chat. I know these things can be daunting when you see it on headline breaking news. So if you want to reach out to us, you can follow us on Facebook or click the link below. Or alternatively, just call us and we'd be happy to take some time to discuss those with you. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching. Bye.